Madam Mayor, and she's not lying. I met LaToya Cantrell as a community organizer right after Hurricane Katrina. She's the real deal. Let's give her one more love. I also want to say welcome. It's beautiful from up here. You look great. Welcome to the swamp. Welcome to the heat. We brought it just for you. We only ask our closest friends to visit us in August. A lot of love. It's our little test to make sure you love us, and you have passed. Welcome. Because you are a close friend, let me deliver a piece of news with love. Sometimes it takes a friend to say we have to do things in right order. And so I would like for you to stand and join with me to welcome the Principal Chief of the United Homa Nation, the indigenous people of this land. Let's welcome him so that we can have his permission to begin our journey.
Elito, Omasia, Isetanachehe. Hello, I am Chief Capella of the United Homa Nation. We are the largest tribe in Louisiana. We're over 17,000 people spread out between 6 different parishes. We welcome you to our land. We welcome you to New Orleans and Louisiana. We hope you have a good time. And I'm gonna do a prayer song to welcome you here.
Thank y'all. We've been working really hard here in South Louisiana to make sure we stand in solidarity and right next to our indigenous brothers and sisters. Because we know one thing for sure, we will not win until the original sins of this land are dealt with and we have restorative justice to address them. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's always the proper thing to do. Whatever you think you own and whatever you think you have in this land, it belonged to somebody else before you, and we have to at least pay honor to those who were here before us. So thank y'all for joining in on that. I was invited to address you and to give you a little bit of the lay of the land. Again, I'm Colette Pichon Battle. I'm actually from Bayou Country, across the lake. I'm not from the city of New Orleans, but I got to meet a lot of its warriors in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, when many of us saw our neighborhoods, our churches, our schools, our hospitals devastated by a Category 5 extreme hurricane. As she came on shore, she hit from New Orleans all the way to Mobile, Alabama. She was a big one. She knocked a lot of us out. She took a lot of our communities away, and many of our people are still not home. And I want you to know that as you go throughout New Orleans and you see everything that has been rebuilt and you see the shiny new things that we have to offer you, and you see a little bit of the culture, I want you to still be aware that there are many of us who have not been able to return home. And they're in places like Houston and Atlanta and Baton Rouge and Memphis. And when you see those folks from New Orleans in those places, just know they want to come home. We haven't yet figured out how to make recovery an equitable place for all of us to engage in. But there has been some great movement on the ground, and a lot of that movement is happening from the front lines. I want to just take a minute to honor the people who live in the lower parishes. That means they live just south of New Orleans. Those communities take the brunt of extreme weather hits for us and protects the city of New Orleans when they take those hits. People in Plaquemines Parish, Jefferson Parish, Terrebonne, and Lafourche Parish, these are the people who have to look the eye of the storm in the eye, and they have to take the hit. Many of those communities are actually relocating to other places in Louisiana because Louisiana is losing land at one of the fastest rates on the planet. So I'm talking to you about sea level rise. I'm talking to you about coastal erosion, and I'm talking to you about a reality for South Louisiana that means millions of people in the next decade will have to move themselves up and out of South Louisiana. Well, what's causing this, you might wonder? There are critics, there are those who debate, and we live in the zone where in some of our states here in the red zone, you can't even say climate change. But what we know is that climate change is real, and we also know, oh, great, that's fantastic. You know too. You're right. You're right. Climate change is real, and it's being accelerated by extractive industries. It's being accelerated down here by oil and gas, and it's also being accelerated by what we do to the land. So we're part of this problem. This coastal erosion and land loss is causing issues across the board. You know, you can't just think about what happens to a house when the land is gone. You have to think about what happens to the people when they have to move to a new place. You have to think about what happens to electoral politics when the people that you elect are no longer able to get the votes they need. You have to ask about your democracy. You have to ask about your health systems. You have to ask about your total infrastructure. And that's the work that we're doing. The seas are rising here in South Louisiana, but so are the people. The people are rising, and the people are rising across the Gulf Coast. I talked to folks from Florida. Anybody from Florida here today? Florida's rising. Somebody told me Florida has a black dude running for governor. He may or may not be as fly as LaToya Cantrell, but I'll vote for him, you know what I'm saying? Anybody from Mississippi in the house? I'm not gonna leave y'all out. I know and you know that everybody around here likes to act like they don't know Louisiana and Mississippi exist. But if you don't know, you better ask somebody, because Mississippi has been doing some real organizing on the ground. And in the state that has the most black people, in the state that has the least financial resources, we're seeing some of the most outstanding resistance come out of Mississippi, and I just want to give you a shout out. Now, I hate to ask this question, but are there any Texans in the house? We always know when Texas is in the house. No, a lot of love, Texas. A lot of love with your big hats. It's all good. We wear cowboy boots down here too. But I just want to shout Texas out because Texas cities are leading the way. We're seeing not only heroism in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, but we're seeing some of those cities in Texas initiate climate plans and initiate renewable energy cities, and it just feels good to know that Texas is not just that red state we all need to throw away, but it's where some of the best innovation is coming out of. I just want to ask one last question about Alabama. They sleeping on y'all, Alabama. But everybody was paying attention when that Roy Moore dude was running. And they have to ask themselves how many people could get the whole state of California to vote that dude out or to make sure he doesn't get in. Don't sleep on Alabama. And since we're on Alabama, let me lift up the fact that some of the leaders in Alabama who helped that vote are now being targeted by the criminal justice system. The same man who helped to organize prisoners get their right to vote back is now being targeted by the criminal justice system. And what does this have to do with Netroots, Colette? Well, I'm gonna tell you what it has to do. We cannot continue to spend all of our money on elections and not get some of those resources to the ground. There are people who are taking hits, and they're taking hits that you never have to know about. They're taking hits that don't make good t-shirts. They're taking hits that don't make good hashtags, but they're taking the hits nonetheless. And when you get a win like that in Alabama, in this red block, you have to understand that people will then be targeted. And we need all of this electoral energy to not just invest in people to get in office, but to invest in the ground that's helping to make people's getting out to the poll possible. We have to invest in the people who are helping folks understand what's happened so they know to go out and vote. This is the grassroots organizing. It's not these organizations that you heard of, and it's probably a church that you don't want to go to, and it might be somebody who believes something that you don't want to believe, but you have to invest in that infrastructure because we might win. We might win. And if we win, what are we going to do? And also, we might lose. We might lose, and there are people who know how to survive even in the most hostile of territories. Just ask any of us from these Gulf South states, and we'll tell you what survival looks like. We'll tell you how you don't give up hope when you're faced with all of this incredible ridiculousness. We will tell you how to join hands with somebody who doesn't particularly like you, but we got to know that we're in it together and we have to fight together. We have to fight for voting rights. We have to fight for queer liberation. We have to fight for racial justice. We have to fight for environmental justice. But the hardest thing that we have to do is tell the truth to each other. Hold on, let me say it again. I don't know if they heard me. The hardest thing we have to do is tell the truth to each other, okay? Now is not the time for you to be paralyzed with white guilt. I'm sorry. I should have prepped you for that. I should have prepped. Thank you. I should have told you that was coming. That's my bad. That's my bad. Listen, white friends, now is not the time for you to cry and stand still. Now is not the time for you to point at your one black friend and say, what should we do? This is not that time. But on behalf of the entire black race in this entire country, let me say, you are welcome to come to our meeting. You are welcome to follow our leadership. And you are welcome to ask us what we ought to do. Oh. We got to do this together. And we got to get over all that stuff we have on our shoulders. We got to do it together. And I'm sorry, but the time is now. We don't have any more time for you to figure it out or to go journal about it. We got to do it. We have to, it's time to go. Okay, the time is now. Chief just rang the drum. Did you hear the drum beat? The drums are hit. It's time to go. Okay, so we're going to have to, let's move. And let me also say this is not the time for us to fall into the delusion that organizing is done simply on the computer. That hurt the millennials? I'm sorry. My bad. My bad, millennials. That's my bad. That's my bad. I should have told y'all that was coming. Listen. Take it from your Southern friend. Sit down at the table and have something to eat with people. Have a conversation. Share a meal. Make a dish. I'll even eat the vegan food. I'll talk about it first, but then I'll eat it. I'll eat it after I talk about it. No, we have to look at each other in the face, y'all. It's time. We got to get together. We got to be a little uncomfortable. Oh, they're telling me to wrap it up. We got to be a little uncomfortable, and we have to eat together. So let me wrap it up by saying climate change is real. Climate change is real. And if you didn't know it now, I hope you take a drive down to South Louisiana. Let me tell you, for all of you working in climate, let me say it with love. I'm giving you a warning. Here it comes. Clean energy cannot pollute Black and brown communities. Okay? Natural gas and nuclear kill Black people. So we got to deal with that. We can talk about it later. There's a climate caucus, so let's talk about it over there. Renewable energy cannot extract from the global south. We can't just talk about solar panels. We have to ask where those solar panels produce and who's being extracted from to get those things together. Climate solutions have to be rooted in justice. This is not a policy win. This is the fate of our planet. Let's save it together. Thank you.